So on the podcast today, we have my beautiful friend. I've gotten to know her over the past year. We've been roomies at events. And so I've got to learn an immense amount of information. Most of it goes over my head, but we're going to break it down for you. And I'm talking about life and finances and money. And her name is Angela Iacobellis, and she is a life insurance and retirement specialist who helps families and business owners make their money work smarter, not harder. I think we are all about having our money work smarter, not harder. She has a background in biotech and a degree from Indiana University, and she brings this really cool analytical and also practical approach to building financial security that lasts not just for your lifetime, but for generations to come. So she specializes in life insurance and retirement income strategies. So that includes like college fund solutions, which is like, you don't sometimes want to think about that right now. You're like, I just have little kids. It's like, you want to actually think about that stuff right now. So along with the college funding solutions that grow tax-free without hurting financial aid and eligibility, I think that's also, we'll tap into that a little more when we talk, but her mission is pretty simple. It's to help people leverage their money, right, and protect their wealth and create this peace of mind about the future. She serves on boards of Women in Insurance and Financial Services in LA, and Giving from the Heart Foundation, while supporting community causes through the foundation at We Spark Cancer Support Center. Outside of work, she's a wife and a proud mom of an 18-year-old daughter. So she just is starting going through the college experience of having an adult kid, which Absolutely. I know I'm going to blink and I'm going to be there before I know it. And she's also a passionate cook who loves to fire up the smoker and an unapologetic fan of a good romance novel with a happy ending. We have spoken a few times in different realms on things that make people happy, or to do something while you're doing something you don't like to do, like listen to a sappy romance novel while folding laundry. I always think about you and your romance. I love it. I love it. Yep. So welcome.
Thank you.
Did I miss
anything?
For
having me. No, you did a fantastic job. I need to just bring you with me everywhere I go.
Yes,
and say, Carly will tell you what I do. She's great.
Welcome. Meet Angela. Okay, so we're going to dive right in and we're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about what we mentioned there in the bio, these tax-free income. Like, what strategies. Is tax-free income strategies? Like, and these college savings that don't hurt your financial aid, because this one hits home a little bit for me because I couldn't afford to go to college. And so like when I went for a little bit and I was like, I need to apply for financial aid if I'm going to stay here. And like my parents were like, your parents make too much money. And I was like, yeah, no, they don't. Like, couldn't even afford to like help me with college at all. Love you, mom and dad. But so that doesn't, like, how do you do that and save up all this money and have like a decent income yourself as the parents, but that doesn't hurt their eligibility. So we're going to talk about how that works, because maybe things have changed over, I'm gonna age myself 25 years, but like, how does that work?
So when we can start with the college education, because that is one I know you're coming up on and I'm in the middle of. And having it's never too late to start, but it does help the sooner you start, because in any financial, trying to grow your money, anything you're trying to do, it's time and return on investment. And, very few investments are going to get you consistently 20% returns. You might have a 20% return one year and then it might lose money the next year. So you're looking for that time aspect of it. Like I said, it doesn't mean that you can't do it when you're older or your children are older. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to fund it.
Sure.
And so what we're doing is we're utilizing life insurance policies, cash value life insurance. And it's called an overfunding. So you're going to put as much money as you can into an insurance policy. And when you do it on children, you're not doing it for a death benefit. Everybody thinks life insurance, somebody dies. Yeah. That's there, but that's not the strategy. So the strategy, we're utilizing the tool of life insurance to save for college. So you're overfunding this policy to grow that cash value. And I work mainly with what's called an IUL. And I'm trying not to get into the weeds too much, but basically the money you're investing
Um,
won't lose value. So those ups and downs that you can have in the real market, you're not going to have those downs. You'll just have the ups.
okay.
There's some caveats with that, but that's for a later podcast. But
Part two.
the goal of this overall strategy is to save money, grow money that's protected. And when you do it in a life insurance policy, the FAFSA form that everybody talks about, they don't look at that. So you're
Okay.
filling out the financial aid form, and if you do a 529 college plan, which is what a lot of people and a lot of parents do, parents, grandparents, everybody knows about a 529. They hear 529. Oh, yeah, that's what you want to do.
Okay.
What happens is when you apply for financial aid, they see that. And you could do other strategies of minimizing what it looks like, how much you make, how much you have saved, but they're going to see that 529. And right there, the federal financial aid is going to say, you need to use that before we give you any money.
Okay.
So that's going to hurt you. Life insurance, they don't look at it. They can't ask for it. They can't ask you to use it. The other benefit of the life insurance is that you don't have to use it for college. It's cash value.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just sitting there. So you don't have to use that specifically for college. 529s you have to use for college.
Yeah. So like, yeah,
And
your kid starts a business straight out of high school. It's like, now I'm not going to
right,
college. Then you're kind of screwed if you're stuck with that 529.
right. And
Yeah.
for me, with a 529, they'll let you transfer it to another child. I have one kid.
Yeah. So then what?
So then what? Or if it's your last child, you have
Yeah.
multiple
Then what?
children, it's your last kid,
Sure.
now what? And so now you could potentially face taxes on it,
Hmm.
all that growth that you had. So the cash value in the life insurance, there's no tax. It doesn't count against you in financial aid. And they can use it for whatever they want. Start a business, buy a house, go to college, buy a car. I wouldn't recommend that, but that it could be
Sure.
there
If
for
that's
that.
something that's needed and there's money there for it, or they're on scholarship and they're like, well, I'm on scholarship. So maybe now I need a vehicle.
Right.
That could be something that's,
Or
potentially.
I want to study abroad for a year and my
Sure.
scholarship is only going to cover so much of it. You can tap into that. There are even strategies we can use if you're in closer to those college years where we could use the parent strategies. So there's lots of different ways to do this. But it's a great tool that a lot of people don't take advantage of. I was
Yeah.
fortunate. My insurance agent told me about this 16 years ago. And
So
it's a
you
passion
knew.
of mine
Yeah.
that to educate people on this and to
Right.
get more people involved in it.
That's amazing. I mean, so when you're talking about life insurance, you're like people usually think like, oh, it's for like if someone dies and then you're covered or whatever, your expenses
Right.
are covered when you die, or if your spouse dies and then you'll be taken care of. But I don't think most people know the ins and outs of it and know a
No.
lot about all that it can actually offer. I mean, I didn't really know a whole lot until a couple years ago was introduced to a friend that was like, "Oh yeah, I just use it as my own bank, and so that's funding my my startup." Or
Yep.
so they know they need it, but then sometimes they put it off, which can also be scary, right?
Right.
So for our audience, for the moms out there, what are some smart ways that we can use it like as a financial tool, not just like this safety net in case something happens? Because it's like,
Right.
oh, let's feed all this just in case something happens. But how do I like use it right in my life now?
Yeah. So it's a great tool. It's the same kind of strategy where if you're looking to build retirement income, that cash
Mhm.
value, or basically savings. It's a tax-free savings. The money going in is already taxed, but as it grows, you're not going to get taxed on it.
Sure.
So that's where it's really important because you can grow this money and you can use it in your retirement. You can use it to buy the vacation house when the kids are getting older and maybe finances are stronger and better, or whatever position you're in, you can then use that. So it's great because there are no restrictions on it. It's
Okay.
your money. That's how your friend was able to become her own bank.
Yeah.
She saved her money in this way. You borrow from that, you make, invest it, you and then you're becoming your own bank. And any interest you're paying to yourself.
Right.
And, people
Yes,
try and
please.
do that. Yes. I would much rather pay myself than pay the bank.
100%.
And they're going to charge you high rates to borrow any money too.
Mm.
So it's really it's become a really nice creative way for people to take control over their own finances and not rely upon a bank saying yes or no,
Yeah.
or a lender saying yes or no. So it's really it has grown. Life insurance, like you said, it used to be I die, somebody else gets money,
Hmm.
and it's there as a protection, and in a way it's now become a Swiss Army knife. So it's there to be your bank. It's there to protect your family on the God forbid moment.
Hmm.
It's there for critical care. You have a heart attack. There are policies that will help, cover you during that time. If you have need like long-term care, that's a big topic. A lot of us, our generation, we're getting to that sandwich generation. We're
Yeah.
taking care of kids and we're taking care of parents,
Hmm.
and it's financially it's a burden on a lot of
Yeah.
people. So it like I said, the best way to describe the life insurance policies that are available now are Swiss Army knives,
Hmm.
and it's all a matter of meeting with an advisor to know how to structure it.
Right.
Everybody can go online and buy a term policy.
Sure.
Absolutely, you can definitely simply do that, but there's so many ways that you can use your money to invest it in yourself
Yeah.
and your future, that talking to somebody is the best way to find out what to do.
Right. Because everyone's, situation might be a little different. But
Right.
also, like, I think when you're young and you're starting families, there's some people that are like, "Oh, we need this and we need this and we need this." And some people are like, "We're too young. We're like, we'll figure it out."
Right.
Right. And then you hear stories of people that didn't figure it out. And then life happens and something tragic happens or something serious happens. It's really hard to get a decent policy if you're like, okay, well, now I have cancer. Now I got to figure this out. Now I'm going to get that policy that's going to help me. And it's like, well, that's going to be a lot harder, right? To get approved and get all the
Right.
things you need if you're coming in a little too late with like a pre-existing, situation condition,
Yeah.
right?
I had a really hard call this year from a friend of mine, and she called me up and she said, "I was diagnosed with cancer. How soon can I get a life insurance policy?" And I was like, ah,
Like last year before you were diagnosed
yeah,
would have been ideal. Yeah.
would have been ideal. And yes, you can have a history of cancer and still get policies.
Sure.
It comes down to time. How many
Yeah.
years has it been? What was the diagnosis? There's a lot
Yeah.
that goes into it. But really, when you buy life insurance, it's based on health and age. Those are the
Mm,
two things you're buying.
yeah.
And, the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. And the unhealthier you are, the more expensive it gets.
Mhm.
So when you're young, and you're just starting a family, and I agree. I mean, I was in my early 30s. I just had my daughter, and we were young and buying a house and doing all the buying a second house, upgrading the house, and
Mhm.
you're in debt up to here, and you're going, I don't know what to do. That's the time to buy it.
Yeah.
And there's ways to structure it. There's all different costs, and different. There's so many different things you can do. It's not that it has to be $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
But that's the time to do it, because you can buy it when you're healthy and
Yeah.
when you're young, and that's the least expensive.
Yeah.
You know, every whenever something bad happens, it's always, when was the time to buy it? Was yesterday,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But even if you do have existing conditions, we can. I work
Sure.
with that.
Yeah.
I work with all the
Always get answer. It's just it's gonna be harder, right? Like,
right.
might as well do things when it's easier. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're like if you're like me, like, "Can you just give me the easy way?" Great. It's enough hard things we have to deal with, right? Like, give me an easy way, like,
Right.
do it now before I mean, and, heaven like you said, those heaven forbid moments, like, and maybe nothing will ever happen. One, great, that's awesome.
Right.
But now
And
you're covered, and now you're utilizing money for all the things that you need and wanna do, and
yeah,
it's smart.
then you have, because the tax burden when you retire, you don't all of a sudden go from spending $200,000 a year to $50,000 a year when you
Right.
retire, as an example. So
Yeah.
you can build up and use these policies to have cash or tax-free income in retirement.
Mhm.
So that's a great strategy. Whereas a 401k, you're going to get taxed when you start pulling it out.
Yeah,
So,
big
and a
time.
lot of
They're not nice. They're not
no,
nice
and
about it. Yeah.
And the thought was always that, oh, you won't be in a high enough tax bracket when you retire. And that's where
Mm,
it goes back to you're not going to all of a sudden stop spending money and stop needing money. You're doing
yeah.
more things. You're traveling. You're you know redoing the house. You're enjoying your retirement. That's why we worked all those years. So it's hard. I know when we're young and just starting out to think 30 years down the
I
line.
know. I'm like, I don't even think 5 years or 3 or maybe
Right.
2.
And I will say I work with a lot of people young and old.
Yeah.
Not old, I shouldn't say old, but closer to retirement.
Mature.
And what happens is every you ask anybody in their 50s and 60s if they could go back and do things different in their 30s and 40s and take care of these financial decisions and make some of, better choices or different choices,
Yeah.
everybody would say they'd do it. I
Yeah.
wish I could have, I should have.
Yeah.
And that's why it's really become a passion of mine to talk to younger people
Yeah.
because this is the time that you're setting yourself up for 20, 30 years down the road. And
Right.
you'll make your life a whole lot easier if
And I
you do
also
it
think
now.
it's important to educate women more on it because I know we're in a different era and I know, we're so much farther than, we were 50 years ago when it comes to, household responsibilities and who does what in the home and all that. But it still is quite common that the man handles the finances in the home and kind of does all the investments. It's not always the case, but I think when talking to you recently, a lot of this older generation is coming in being like, I had no idea what he was doing with their money. I had no idea that we have nothing left in retirement and he's gone now, or I had no idea. So how do we, switch that narrative and make sure that us younger women coming up know what to do, how to do it. I mean, I would first off say, oh, just like go talk to Angela or, go talk to a
Right.
financial advisor that you trust, you know what I mean? Because like you
Mhm.
don't have to know all the things, but you have to know who you can talk to teach you all the things, right? So if like I know I haven't planned for retirement, but I also have seen my parents in the last 5 years come into early retirement and let's just say my mom is back at work. And so there are some things that didn't quite, pan out as great as I think they would have wanted. So what do we do for like, well, I haven't even started. Like, A, I haven't really thought much about it, but now I'm thinking about it because I listened to this. What do we do? Like what's the next step, I guess?
One of the first steps I would say is if your spouse is the one in charge of meeting with the financial advisor, meeting with the insurance advisor, whatever it is, the CPA, the estate attorney, all these advisors that come in and should be working together, go to those meetings. Insist on being in those meetings. Even if it's something that you're not really interested in, just go and listen. I
Yeah.
know it's time out of our day, and trust me, I know when you're raising a family, may or may not be working full time, part time. You're homeschooling, getting the kids to school, practice, and everything else. I get it, but you have to make that time.
Yeah.
You have to sit in on those meetings. And at those meetings, if that advisor is not looking at you and just looking at your spouse, you need to kind of like stick your head in there and go, hello, I'm
I'm
here.
part of this equation
I'm
here.
part of this. I need to, and if you don't understand something, a good advisor should be able to break it down in simple terms. Because I
Yeah.
know sometimes as advisors, we kind of get it, we're in our heads and we know the lingo and the jargon, but they should be able to break it down. If they're not breaking it down, maybe it's time to look for a different advisor.
Yeah.
That's,
'Cause you're hearing that from your older clients, right? You're,
right.
like, "I didn't know," or "I never went to any of those meetings," or looked at any of that paperwork, and so, like, if you can just think of, "Okay, if I'm thinking about my, like, 75-year-old self," or what have you, and then I'm just completely in the dark, let's take care of our older self now.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
and it's what we're seeing too, and we're especially with the baby boomer generation, there's going to be a $30 trillion transfer of wealth. Woo! 30 trillion. And most of that's going to women
Mhm.
because women live longer than men.
Yep.
So you're seeing widows get, you know, the husband passes away, and she's remaining, and she's now in charge of this money that she didn't know about. She doesn't understand necessarily
Mhm.
exactly what's going on, and she's meeting with a financial advisor, an insurance advisor, or whoever it is for the first time. And a lot of what she's doing is she's going, I don't know if I like this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's talking to her girlfriends and saying, who's your advisor?
Yeah.
So, if there are any advisors out there, I would strongly suggest start taking a look at what you're doing and
Yeah.
make sure you as advisors, you're including those spouses,
Yeah.
especially the women. And then those women are leaving it to their kids. So, ladies, you need to know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Right. So we talk a lot to moms. Let's talk, about our role as mothers. What are
Mhm.
some of the biggest mistakes you're seeing or the misconceptions you see women make when it comes to saving for the future? It's like sometimes we're all caught up in like work and kids and work and kids and work
Right,
and kids, or,
right.
kids in household is like a beyond a full-time job in and of itself, which we all
Yes.
know. But what's one of some of those big money mistakes that you're starting to see?
Two of the biggest mistakes I'm seeing right now is one, underinsured. That especially we get insurance on the husband, on the father, and then on the wife or the mom, it's, oh, they're a stay-at-home mom. They don't need it because they're not working. There's no income coming in from
Mhm.
that spouse, or her income isn't maybe large enough,
Sure.
or I'm covered at work. But whatever it might be, a lot of times which is unfortunate, and I still can't understand in this day and age, we're undervaluing the role of the wife and the
Yeah.
mom. And, if you're a stay at home mom and you're gone, who's watching the kids? Who's cooking the meals? Who's getting them to
Yeah.
and from? Who's cleaning the house? Who's running the household? Because
Yeah. You're
even
screwed.
though, right, even though you might not be in charge of the financial decisions, most women are in charge of the day to day.
Mhm.
They're balancing the checkbooks. They're going to the store. They're making sure the bills are paid. They're doing the day to day stuff. So we're very capable of doing this.
Yes.
And, that's one of the biggest mistakes I see is undervaluing the role of the mom. And I always look at it, if you're running a house, and it's up on stilts, you have two stilts. It doesn't matter which one goes away. If one goes away, you have one stilt holding up that house.
Yeah. It's
That's
gonna cut
not good.
production down. It's not
It's gonna
good
put
enough. No, my friend
well,
sent me this thing the other day. It's some whatever viral thing on Instagram or something, and it basically breaks down what the cost of all these things that a woman does to run a household.
right.
And when it comes to, a cooking, a driver, the cleaning, the laundry, all the online, stuff, and the emailing and the filing. And I mean, he makes a complete list of like, and this is day to day, right? It was like $265,000 or something
Yeah,
a year is
yeah,
what you would make in income if you got to bill all these things out that it would cost to bring someone in to do all those things, right? And it
right.
was like, well, yeah, and if not more, right?
And think about that. If you're gone, and we
You
all
need
hate
someone
to
to do
talk about,
those things. Yeah,
and we hate to think about it. And it's the hardest part of my job is having to say, if you're gone, because nobody wants to think about that. But that's the
sure,
reality. You're
sure.
gone. And that's if you have a policy that's 250,000, that's 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year.
That's the first year you're gone. And your
Hmm.
spouse is taking care of the kids, being both parents, trying to just navigate and mourn and the kids and everybody's missing. There's a lot going on in that first year.
Yeah,
And then so now I minimum I say 5 years you want coverage for. Ideally it's 10.
yeah,
So on either spouse, you want 10 years salary on either
mhm,
spouse,
yeah,
especially when your kids are young,
yeah,
because it will take time to adjust and to get through everything. And it's a horrible part. Nobody wants to think about it, but you don't want them thinking about it when it's too late
right. And you
because
can't often rely. as much as we would love to, rely on family or your village or this and that, like, yes, it will be a support, but it won't be a replacement. I
No.
think people think that like, oh, well, I would just have my parents, or I would just have, and it's like, well, you don't know at any point in time what situation these people will be in. You know what I mean? And so I just think it's smart to just handle your business.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's easy to line it up when you're younger. I just keep going back to that. When the sooner you start it,
Yeah.
the better off you're going to be. And it's one of those things that, it's have that meeting, have that talk with your person. Just go in and talk to them, and you don't have to do it for months on end. It's one time, maybe
Yeah.
twice. You set up 2 or 3 meetings, you figure out a plan, you set it up.
Great.
That
Not something you
every
gotta manage every single day. Like, yeah.
No, and your advisor should be meeting with you once a year, making sure everything is still working the way
Sure.
it's supposed to. You're all good to go. That's a 15-minute conversation and you're off. It's
When you say that your insurance can double as this financial safety net, right, and this wealth building tool, um, like, I know that, and I've seen, some people do that, like, within their businesses or startups or whatever, and they invest in different things with that money. I'm great with stories and examples. What are some examples, um, that you can give me where you can use those benefits?
okay. So I one benefit I'll talk about is the what we call living benefits.
Living
And it
benefits.
and so we actually had a client, it's been almost 2 years now since, she's a hairdresser, self-employed, was funding it. So she was funding it for her retirement income. She had a $750,000 policy. She was putting extra money towards it for her savings so that
Mhm.
she could retire off of this. And she was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. And so she's a hairdresser, self-employed.
Yeah.
No income. If she doesn't work, there's no income.
Right. Right.
So we were able to put in a claim. She got $300,000 tax free and was able to use that money to pay her mortgage, to, make ends meet while she's going through chemo. She's not having
Yeah.
the stress of chemo and working.
Yeah.
She could work as much as she wanted to. It gave her choices. And that's what I
Choices,
think
right?
it all boils down to, is having
Yeah.
those choices available so that, you don't have to work if you don't want to.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what, this money was able to do for her.
Didn't she
And
almost cancel? Didn't she almost
she
cancel her
almost canceled.
policy?
Yeah. She was like 6 months prior to that. She'd tried twice and met with
Yeah.
the advisor.
You're like, "Not a
And
good idea," and then is she just, like, beyond thankful that, like, you
yeah,
talked her out of it? Because this is for
she
the
is.
people also who are like, "Maybe I don't need it," or, "Things are really tight. I don't wanna put money towards this anymore. I maybe wanna cancel." Like, I feel like this is just the perfect story to be like, "Hey, don't do it. Just don't do
Don't
it."
do that. And
Yeah.
she's at the point now, she's like, "Can I get another policy?" And we're like, "No, not yet." Because she had cancer within the
Yeah.
last 2 years.
Yeah.
We can't get her another policy right now.
Right.
But down the road, we could look at getting her another policy.
Sure.
But it is definitely one of those things where it's like, this policy that she'd only paid into for 2 years. So a lot of people are like, "Well, what happens, if something happens to me a month later?" You're covered. That's
Yeah.
the gamble the insurance policy and the insurance carrier takes.
Sure.
That's their gamble.
Yeah.
Most of the time, everybody's healthy. Not
Sure.
necessarily nowadays. Stress, the way we're eating, our environment, stress is, I'd say, the biggest concern.
Yeah. It's true.
Is that, it's causing the heart attack, stroke, cancer. You hear it more and more. So those are the concerns that I have, especially for people in their 40s and 50s when they're raising their children. I mean, my own family member got breast cancer at 41. There's no guarantee, and she's fine, God bless. And so is this woman, our client.
Mhm.
She's healthy now, but there's no guarantees. And, I would just much rather be grateful you have it than you don't.
100%.
And then when it comes down to helping you, that's the thank God I have it side of
Yeah.
the policy. But then there's the growth and the, being able to leverage your wealth.
Mhm.
And there's ways, that you can take an investment of that money And think of it, we kind of liken it to a Roth IRA. A lot of people have heard of a Roth IRA. You put your money in, when you pull it back out, you don't pay taxes.
Mhm.
Well, this is the rich man's Roth,
Mm.
because if you make too much money, you can't use a Roth. There are income
Oh,
limits. So for like a married couple, I believe the cutoff now is 250,000 a year. So you can't utilize that. So the ultra wealthy can't utilize a Roth
hmm.
IRA. They can utilize life insurance.
Yeah, and
There's
they do.
nothing, and
No,
they
they
do.
do. Yeah.
There are a lot there people use it for executive bonuses, your you know, high positions, executives, instead of giving a salary, they're using this to
Mm.
fund the life insurance, and that builds that cash value. And it all
Yeah.
comes down to structure, but we make it so that it's building that cash, so you have it later on.
Yeah.
You can use it retirement, and then, if there's a down year in the stock market, you don't wanna sell stocks, you use this.
Right.
So it gives you options and diversity,
Right.
because that's every investor will tell you you wanna be diverse. You still wanna
100%.
have you want the real estate, you want your 401k, you want your stocks. This just is another tool in that portfolio.
Yeah. I think it's a
So,
one of the top tools though, really, like
yeah,
when you break it all down. And I don't think it's a tool a lot of people are utilizing, I would say,
no,
right? I mean, because even I mean, and my husband who handles most of this stuff, I mean, even you opened his eyes up to other, opportunities to do other things, right? And
right.
how like, oh, we have an insurance policy out of him, not on me. And you're like, well, right? And you're like, yeah, we
Yeah,
should. Yeah, we should. So enough of shoulds, quit shoulding
right.
and just jump on board into it. And I
And
think,
I'm good at nudging. You want somebody to nudge.
yeah,
To
to like
to
nudge you
be
to like
that, and I
reminder.
get it. I mean, people, we get busy and we put things off, but you wanna stop putting it off, really.
Yeah. Because there is always that fear in the back of your head of what if something happens to me, especially after you produce children and they rely so much on you. What if something happens to me? And if you can, oh man, just relieve that just a little bit and just know and have that complete peace of mind that like it'll suck, but actually everyone will be taken care of. It'll be
Right.
okay.
Yep.
Um, that's so good. Angela, thank you so much for
You're
filling us in and
welcome.
educating us on
Absolutely,
all the
absolutely.
important things. Why don't you go ahead
Yeah,
and tell everybody how they can get in touch with you? That yes, you're in Southern California, but you can
I
work with
can
anybody
I can work with
nationwide,
anybody.
right?
I
So whether you're joining us, from the east, west coast, some from the south, she can
Absolutely.
work with you. And again, as I always say to all of our audience out there, that I only have people on the show that I completely trust with, my body, my mind, my money. And she is one of those people that I do put complete trust in because, we work really hard for what we have. We work
Yep.
really hard to stay healthy, we work really hard to raise our kids. We work really hard for our money. And so we want all those things to be protected, right? And to be in capable hands. And I can tell you that she is one of those people
Thank
that
you.
can be there for you. So tell
Thank
us how they can reach out. Again, we're going to have everything in the show notes so you can refer back to all the clickable links and all that. But just go ahead and any website,
Yeah.
email that so people can audibly hear it.
Alright, so, you can always go to my website, AngelaIacobellis.com. So I apologize, I know it's my last name and it's long, but just look it up. You can go to AngelaIacobellis.com. You can email me at angela@perennialinsurance.com. My Instagram is Angela_Iacobellis_LA. So for the Los Angeles area. But it's like I said, I work nationwide. I work on Zoom, I work in person, whatever, if you're on an island somewhere and you want me to travel to you,
Totally willing to do that.
I'm totally willing to write that off on my taxes. Talk to my CPA. It was a work
I
expense.
gotta go to the south of France to like work on someone's insurance. I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Right. So,
Take me with
but
you.
I need an assistant.
Right? Oh, there we
So,
go. I'll assist you only on the exotic trips.
right. I need a tour guide. There we
Great,
go.
great, great, great. I'll be that
Yeah.
person.
So,
But your
but yeah,
sidekick.
feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help, happy to answer any questions at any time. So, thank you.
Awesome. Yay.
All right.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you feel like this episode really resonated with you, feel free to share it. If you feel like someone else needs to hear some of this information, please feel free to share it and like and subscribe and comment all the things. And don't forget, we got you, Mama. Angela's got you, and we will see you next time. Bye.